I'm going to tell you 12 uncommon travel hacks that you probably didn't know.
Oh, hi, Mark.
What's up, Freccero fam? Welcome back to my channel where I like to explore everything that life has to offer. And a huge part of this channel, of course, is traveling and experiencing as many things as I can. Now, there are literally thousands of travel hacks videos online, tons of blogs and articles, and a lot of very valuable and useful information out there. However, I've been traveling for years, and so for this video, I really want to focus on my 12 favorite uncommon travel hacks that you probably didn't know. Number one, Huel. I've done a lot of videos about Huel, and for good reason. I'm a huge fan of it. In case you don't know what it is, just to be straightforward, it's pretty much powdered food. I even did an experiment where I lived off it for an entire month. And this is one of my favorite travel hacks because any single time I'm traveling, I always have Huel with me. One, it's super quick and easy to make. Just like making a protein shake almost. You take a couple scoops of the powder, put it in a blender bottle, add water, shake it up. That's it. That's all you need to do. Two, it's very nutritionally complete. So it's super, super healthy for you. So let's say I'm traveling, let's say on a road trip, I'm in an airport, and all the food around me is, like, say, fast food. Well, at least now I'm getting a healthy meal. And the third thing, as you can imagine, it saves you a lot of money. Rather than getting some weird $15 sandwich at the airport that's probably not the best for me, I can quickly and easily make Huel anywhere I am. All I need to do is add water, and the average meal of Huel costs about like $2.50. Super, super cheap, super easy to make, easily one of my favorite travel hacks. Number two, caffeine pills. I'm a huge fan of coffee. Of course, nothing beats a really nice cup of coffee, especially when traveling. But one huge issue when it comes to getting your caffeine in, let's say you're moving around a lot, you don't want to have to drink a ton of liquid and have to go to the bathroom a lot. That's why I do love caffeine pills. If I have to be very specific, these are my favorite ones. These are called Neuromints. They contain caffeine, L-theanine, and B vitamins, so it's like a mini blend, so to speak. Each one of the Neuromints contain only 40 milligrams of caffeine, so roughly equal to half a cup of coffee. Most caffeine pills have roughly about 200 milligrams, so you're looking at about 2.5 cups of coffee. That is a good amount, and that's why I like Neuromints just personally, because let's say if I'm traveling, I need a quick pick-me-up, I just pop one and I keep going. I don't have to, let's say, find a place to get a cup of coffee. I don't have to worry about, like, say, drinking too much liquid and then thinking where I'm going to find a bathroom later on. Super helpful and, of course, super portable when traveling. Number three, the night before. Now, this one is super simple and straightforward, and if anything, very Captain Obvious, but just trust me, and that is this. Always prepare your items when traveling the night before. Again, I know this seems super obvious in a sense, but any single time I'm traveling, whether I'm in a hostel, if I'm doing a big road trip, if, like, say, I'm planning to go to the airport, whatever the case is, as best as I can, I will always pack my stuff and get everything ready the night before, even including the clothes I'll be wearing the next morning. The reason why is when you pack the night before, you then realize what you have and especially what you don't have. And there have been some times when I first started traveling that I was like, all right, I'll just pack the next morning or whatever. And let's say if I've been out all night, I wake up not feeling the best. And so I'll always make sure to pack as much as I can and prepare everything as much as I can the night before. Again, this one I know is super simple, but it's such an invaluable tool because when you pack the night beforehand, you wake up the next morning feeling way less stressed, where you just grab your bag, you grab your stuff, and then you're on your way. Number four, document photos. Any single time I'm traveling, I'll make sure to take pictures of everything. My driver's license, my passport, any very important information. The second thing I'll do then is I'll take those photos and I'll email them to me. This is a huge backup option because let's say I lose my stuff and I lose my phone, or let's say I get pickpocketed or something happens. The good thing is I have those photos, let's say on the cloud, so to speak, that I can access from anywhere in case I need them. Another big pro tip I have is, let's say when you take those photos, email them to yourself, or let's say back them up somewhere or whatever, then print out those photos. That way, when you're traveling, not only do you, let's say, have your passport on you, but you have a physical photo or a physical picture of that passport. Again, I think this is super helpful to have because you never know when you're gonna need it in case that worst case scenario happens. Number five, negotiate. This is true not just for traveling, but pretty much anything. You'd be surprised, especially like say in a lot of hotels. I talked about this on my hotels hack video, that when it comes to a lot of places and things you're doing, you can easily negotiate and ask for a cheaper rate. And especially when it comes to traveling on a budget, you'd be surprised how much money this will save you. There's been a lot of times where I got like a huge discounted rate, and some of my friends said, wow, like how'd you get that big discount? And I said, oh, all I did is ask. That's pretty much it. As a classic saying goes, if you ask and they say no, no big deal. You're just kind of back where you started. But especially when it comes to traveling, it never hurts. I know some people who've gotten bumped up to first class on an airplane, for example, because when they were waiting at their gate, they just walked up and said, hey, I'm just curious, is it possible to get bumped up to first class if there's no one sitting there? No, of course it does depend if it's a full flight. I'm just using that as one example, but you'd be surprised in so many different instances when traveling that there is a good amount of wiggle room in terms of getting upgrades, in terms of getting cheaper rates or a discounted rate. Always ask, because you truly never know. Number 6, rewards. Now this is in a sense one of the most common travel hacks, right? Get an airline credit card is kind of like traveling 101 to get the rewards and points and miles. However, a big thing I've noticed for a lot of people is they do it for mainly just one thing. Like for me personally, I have an American Airlines credit card, but not only that, any single time I'm traveling, any single time, whether I'm staying at a hotel, a motel, a random hostel, I'm taking another airline, doesn't matter. I will always create a new account. Now, yes, on one end, it can be annoying or kind of time consuming in the beginning, but you'd be surprised how quickly, one, this can add up and save you a lot of money over time. And two, there are some companies out there that will give you a discount or some type of offer right away just for creating a new account. And 99.9% of the time, it's free to do so. So I have an account literally with almost every hotel I've ever stayed at, every airline I've ever traveled on. Even if you're like, well, I'm only staying at this one hotel one time, create that account anyway. You'd be very surprised the rewards and bonuses you can get just from creating an account. And later down the line, if you book them, like say a few times more here and there, you can get more points and more rewards. Number 7, bagception. This is a big one. What I will do is I'll bring a bag with a bunch of other bags inside of it. One of my favorite bags to bring, as weird as that is to say, is one of these drawstring bags, because the reason why is if let's say I'm going on a hike, I'm walking around or whatever, not only can you bring the bag with you, of course, and wear it pretty easily, but also let's say you're gonna be using the contents of that bag. Let's say I wanna put in a sandwich and a water bottle or whatever. But once you're done with the drawstring bag and it's empty, you don't have to kind of hold it on you, so to speak. You can crumple it up, put it in your pocket, you're good to go. In addition, I will always bring a bag of, like say, a few different sandwich baggies and everything, just because these will come in handy way more than I expect. So as weird as it is to say, I'll have a bag of bags, just with like say a drawstring bag, maybe a couple of them in there, some sandwich baggies or whatever, because you never know when you're gonna need these. And trust me when I say, when traveling a lot, you'd be very surprised how helpful it is to have a lot of bags on you. Number 8, location slang. This is a really big, unique one that I've learned over time. For me, I'm huge into languages. I love learning new languages and everything, but especially when I'm going to somewhere new, I will first start out by studying the slang of that area. And as you can imagine, let's say even here in the United States, each state or area has their own slang. Same thing is true when traveling. And when it comes to meeting the locals and just building those kind of connections, I've noticed knowing the slang is the quickest way to build like an intimate connection. When I went to Costa Rica, I remember becoming friends with a lot of people because they'd be like, oh yeah, I've been studying not only Spanish, but Costa Rican Spanish and the differences between Costa Rican Spanish and other types of Spanish, and of course, the Costa Rican slang. And when I would talk about the slang with the locals, they were all very, very impressed, being like, wow, how do you know this word or that phrase or whatever? And I find that knowing the slang really goes a long way to show that one, you're, showing appreciation for their culture, but two, you're really trying to learn it and understand it. And when it comes to connecting with people and especially getting advice from the locals about going to those places only the locals know about, knowing the slang, I'm telling you, goes way further than you think. Number 9, overlapping. This is a technique I use all the time. I have mentioned in other videos, and that is this. When I'm traveling, I cannot leave, like say a given restaurant, a bar, a museum, whatever, until I get a suggestion for the next place. And before I leave, I'll go up to somebody, and this is kind of like the main line I use. Like say I'm talking to somebody or whatever. I'll say, hey, just curious, I'm only here for a week. I'm only here for 2 days. I'm only here for a month. is there anything you suggest that I have to check out? And they'll usually be like, oh, you gotta check out this place or this place. And what I'll do is I'll take out my phone and then type that into the Notes app. This is good for a couple different reasons. One, you always have like the next place to go to, right? You always have somewhere else kind of lined up and ready to go. The second thing is if you tell somebody like an actual time constraint, that helps too. Because as you can imagine, if you say to someone like, oh, I'm only here for a week versus I'm only here for 2 days, I feel like for most locals, they'll be like, oh, you're only here for 2 days? Here's what you have to check out. As opposed to if you said, oh, I'm only here for 2 weeks, they could say, oh, actually, next week, this one thing is going on. So this does help you get really good advice of where to check out. And especially with the Notes app, there's been some times when traveling that I had a list of 20 or 30 or 40 things for me to check out where I'm almost overwhelmed in a good way, being like, wow, I have so many good suggestions. I have to check out as many of these as possible. And the last thing that I've noticed, especially with this technique, is it's a really good conversation starter. Because like if I go up to somebody and obviously I say, hey, I just want to ask a quick question. I start talking to them. I've had some people be like, well, actually, me and my friends are going to this place tonight if you want to come. Or, hey, I know this one guy at this one nightclub. I can maybe put you on the guest list or whatever. And this technique in a good way not only gets you good suggestions, but it's also a really good icebreaker. Number 10, offline maps. This one has saved me so many times when I'm traveling, let's say in an area where I don't have Wi-Fi or I don't have service. You have to do this ahead of time, so I want to say that. If you download Google Maps, which is free by the way, when you're connected to Wi-Fi or data, you can select a given area and click download map. Once you do, it will download it to your phone. So even if, let's say you're on airplane mode, you don't have Wi-Fi, you don't have service, you can still use Google Maps, which is amazing. Of course, it won't show you things like traffic or whatever because you need to be connected to the internet to get that feature. This is amazing. When I've been, let's say, in Catalina Island where the service can be sometimes a little spotty. When I was in Costa Rica, for example, and I was bouncing around, I use this all the time. And what's really good about it as well is it doesn't really use that much space on your phone. So I can select, like I said, a given area on the map, download it. That way it's on my phone. So in case I don't have service or Wi-Fi, I can still quickly and easily get around. Number 11, protective clothing. Of course, when it comes to traveling, there's some times that maybe you're in a sketchy area or whatever. And of course, be safe. Every area is very different in terms of the way to go about things. And you want to be very aware of your surroundings. There are different items of clothing, different types of bags and whatnot that you can buy that can make things a bit easier. For example, there are some bags that are harder to slash, which you know can be a huge issue in some countries when it comes to theft. In addition, there are different pants that actually zip up when it comes to the pockets, which makes it harder for pickpocketers to take your stuff. Remember, of course, knowing your surroundings, being aware of your surroundings and everything is the number one thing you have to do by far, but this just adds another layer of protection, both literally and figuratively, when bouncing around. And a big thing I do suggest, let's say you're going to a given area, figure out kind of the pitfalls or the tricky things about getting around there in terms of any theft or crime happening. And then what I would do is buy the right product. Number 12, the bathroom search. This is a really cool feature on Google Maps I actually stumbled upon, and that is this. If let's say you're traveling and you're looking for a public restroom and you're just like, I don't know where to go, you can actually search for it on Google Maps. For example, I was partying on the beach here in LA and I need to go to the bathroom. You know, I was on the beach and I was like, I don't know what direction the bathroom is. I think it's over there, but I'm not sure. I pulled it up on Google and you can quickly see the different bathrooms in the area. This is a very small one, but this is just super helpful. And in addition, remember, if you do download those offline maps, like I said before, these will pop up as well. And now a bonus tip, and that is dating apps. I know this is so weird and random to say, but I've actually made the best connections and gone to the most unique places and everything using dating apps like Tinder. And I know there's a lot of, pros and cons to dating apps. I think most people are annoyed with them, at least at this point. But honestly, a lot of times when traveling, I'll go on a dating app, message people and be like, hey, just letting you know, I gotta be honest, I'm not looking for anything serious right now. I'm only here for a week. I just wanna be able to go to the places that only the locals know about. And you'd be surprised, a lot of times I'll have girls be like, hey, you know what? I'm actually going to this party if you wanna come. And what I'll do is I'll go, let's say, with the girl, maybe party hop, bar hop, whatever, meet up with some of her girlfriends and guy friends, and then meet more people that way. I find dating apps are so helpful with this, because let's say if I'm at my hostel or my Airbnb or my hotel, I can be messaging people, be meeting people the right way, and even still, even if let's say a girl doesn't want to meet up or whatever, I can still ask her for different suggestions of things to check out, and this is a really good way to meet a bunch of new people and have a bunch of new and amazing experiences.